it's me, Renee. I'm back. So today, yeah, probably today. So I'm like saying disqualifiers might put up more videos on one day, but no, we don't do that. So yeah, now I'm here for another tag, as you see from the title. This is the book addiction tag. I've seen it around a few times lately, and yeah, I wanted to do it myself. So here it is. Gonna link the creator in doodle as it's customized. And yeah, let's start. What's the longest time you can go without picking up a book? Well, if you discount the times when I'm in a reading slump, which does happen now and then, it's not often-ish, I would say. Like, I'm a mood reader, so in that way, like, if I don't really like DNF stuff, so if I don't really like stuff, I pick up something else up. But like, sometimes I do ending up in a slump, and then I have gone like maybe a month without reading, but like usually I would say maybe like I tend to often read every day, but it might be like one day that I instead end up in a rabbit hole of watching Gilmore Girls and listening to Gilmore Guys, or maybe if I've if I had a long day at work, like this fall I did inventory and I was work like 10 hours. So after that, I didn't really have any brain power to do audiobook or listen or read or anything. I was just flat on the couch. So like if that happens, no, I don't read. But like if it's a normal week when not that much, like when it's not busy but it's not unbusy, I'll read every day more or less. So I might I might like read, but like basically like I might read 7 days out of 7, or I might read like 5 days out of 7. But like most weeks, I read more than one day. So yeah, normally I read every day before bed. Though sometimes I'm a bit tired, so I don't do that. But like often I either read before bed, or B, I listen to an audiobook before in the day, or I read a bit in a book I've been reading earlier in the day. So like I do some of those, and then some days I do all three of those. So yeah, like longest time, well, if it's not a slump, I would say like 1 or 2 days. If I'm in a slump, and yeah, if I'm in a slump, it can go like in a actually entire month. But yeah. Sorry. How many books do you carry at all times? Well, I used to like always like carry a book with me. Now I have an audiobook app, so like if I go someplace, if I'm on my way to town or on my way to work, often I just use audiobook instead of doing reading a physical book. Sometimes I like notice that the train, because I use train on my way to work, and sometimes the train kind of uh, shakes a bit, so like that makes me kind of nauseous. So yeah, in that way, audiobook works better. And yeah, I have an audiobook app, so and then you can download them to have them on your phone, or you can listen to them while you have Wi-Fi on, and then you have all the books, or you can have use the books that you have downloaded. And I think at this current time, I think maybe I've downloaded maybe like maybe 5 or 6 books that I haven't finished on audiobook. So yeah, 5 or 6, I would say. And I would say 5 or 6, and yeah, I feel like around that, like yeah, that's the minimum. Like sometimes I often might bring a book with me as well. Like if I know I'm gonna wait at a bus stop, or if I'm gonna wait someplace, I might bring a book with me as well, like a physical book. But yeah, sorry. Do you keep every book you own, you buy or own? No. Well, yes and no. Like if someone gives me a book for Christmas, uh, and maybe I read it and I don't like it, or I read it and maybe they give me 2 books. Like sometimes, like it's happened that I wanted a book for Christmas, and then I also forgot said I wanted it and I bought it myself, so I have 2 copies of it. So like yeah, if I get gifted books, I might be more hesitant not to give it away, because like I feel like, well, But what if people see that it's not on my shelf? So it's like, yeah, what are you gonna say then? But like, if it's a book that I bought myself, then yeah, if I don't like it, I give it away. I don't keep every book I have. So yeah, I do give it away to charity or give it away to someone I know who like it. So yeah, I don't really keep all the books. I don't do that. And I even sometimes, I don't know if this is common thing, but for me it's common. So you know how publishing is strange. Well, it's kind of strange in some ways. So like for example, uh, for example, paperbacks. I can let me give you an example here. No, it's better with that. Give me a moment, just a little moment. So, um, so for example, you have this version of Princess Clockwork Princess. It's the first edition, so it's kind of the one I want to keep because it has the family map, the family tree at the end. But yeah, it's you see, like this is just an example of like how big some paperbacks can be. Like they're huge, so tall and so long, and so sometimes what I do, I buy a book when it's out, like the moment it comes out, like I buy the book like immediately. Like if it's a book I need, I get that book. And then sometimes it's like a book like this, where it's like it's huge. So maybe a year or two after, I might give this one to charity, and then and buy a like more like mass pocket, um, mass. No, sorry, words again. Mass pocket paper. No, pass pocket. Oh, words. You know the small ones. Yeah, like I might buy like these smaller ones, like the mass market paperbacks, pass market. Suddenly, I'm not sure what it's called again, but yeah, like the smaller paperbacks like this size. Does it say here? No, it doesn't say what it's called, but yeah, you get my point. I might like buy the smaller ones editions instead, so like because they take up less space on your shelf. So yeah, and also I do the same with like paperbacks, not paperbacks, sorry, hardcovers. As you might have noticed, I don't really like hardcovers that much. I have mostly paperbacks. So like if and often once the first time a book comes out, it's in hardcover, and then after a while it's in paperback. And like if it's a book I need, I'll buy it in hardcover. Like for example, here you see Trials of Apollo. I have it in hardcover. I'll there. I'm pretty sure I'll give this to charity in a year or two, and then exchange it for the payback of this one. So the only like, exceptions for that is like, for example, this one where it's a special edition where the end has a map, a family map, family tree. This one I checked, it doesn't really have any of that stuff. So yeah, after I read it, it's probably gonna go to charity. Sorry. So yeah, that's a thing that I do. Yeah. So slightly off topic, but not that. It's about how I buy books and not buy books. So yeah. Blah 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 blah. How long do you spend in a bookstore in a standard visit? Well, what is a standard visit? I'm one of those. I was about to say like it's probably not that unusual, but yeah, I'm one of those people that like if I go down any street, any central street in any town, any place, and I see a bookstore, I have to go in. Like anyway, like no matter like where, like if I'm in I don't know, Thailand where the bookstore only has Thai books. I kind of still want to go in and just kind of look at the spines and pretty much also like pretty much every bookstore at least I've been to more or less has had some English books. But yeah, I still kind of just kind of enjoy being close to books. So yeah, well, like of course if the bookstore has like if the bookstore has obscure books about chemistry, then I probably won't be there for a long time, but I'll go in, take a look, peek, and go out. If it's a bookstore that's more general, that's like has stuff I like, uh, could be like half an hour, hour. could be more. Like depends on the day, how much time I have and stuff. And then also also like if there's also a caveat to this one because there's a bookstore in Norway. I think this is probably like a thing that happens that you have more or less all over the place. Like for example in UK, I know you have Forbidden Planets. Hot Topic you have in US. I don't know if they sell books there. Maybe they just have clothes. But yeah, anyway. So in UK you have Forbidden Planets, which they sell like fandom merch. They sell role playing games. They sell board games, and they also sell books like fantasy and science fiction. So that's we have a Norwegian equivalent of that. Outland. Of course, it has to have English sounding name. So yeah, when they sell, they have comic books. They have lots of books. They have fantasy and science fiction, and they don't really have anything on it. Well, they have fantasy and science fiction and classics. And that's it. So if you love fantasy, as I do, it's a great place to go, really. And they also have board games, so that's really fun. So yeah, if I go to Outland, I'm probably gonna be like 2 hours. That's like the standard visit there. If it's a regular bookstore, maybe 1 hour, 2 hour. No, 1 hour, half an hour. Yeah, I'll say that. So let's stop the video. It's a bit early. Sorry. I've been filming for a long time, so yeah. Question. How much time do you spend reading? Well, depends on the book, depends on the day. Obviously. I mean, all this depends. I mean, you can't do that stuff all the same all day, all the days. But yeah, I would say like at a minimum, maybe like half an hour. Maybe that's a bit weird. But well, also like well, it's called a book addiction tag, but because this question it's phrased as how much time you spend reading. I also read newspapers. That's reading. It's not newspapers. Does that count? Oh, okay. Anyway, we're just gonna say books. I would say minimum half an hour because, like, even if I'm in bed tired, I can't help myself. I'll still read at least half an hour before I go to sleep. Maximum. I've participated in like the juries, so I might like read 12 hours a day. I've done that. When Harry Potter the last book came out, I read all in one day, and that was like I think that was like maybe like 10 hours, maybe 11 hours. I think it was something like that. So yeah, at most 12 hours, at the least 15, 30 minutes. And I've been filming a lot today, so I need some tea. I have a tea that's elderberry and echinacea with elderflower. What's the difference between elderflower and elderberry? I suppose one's flower, one's berry. I don't know, but it's good. Okay. Where does pick up book fall on your daily to-do list? Um, Interesting. Well, as I said, like I suppose it depends. Like if it's a day that's if it's a day that I don't really have that much planned, I'll I might. It's also like depends on what book I'm reading at the moment. Like I might read a book while eating breakfast. I might yeah, so like that. But yeah, I wouldn't really say it's that far. Like some people say like they more or less only read before bed. I do that, but I'll do more. So yeah, I suppose it depends. But I'll say like maybe it's kind of like the third or fourth thing. Like I get up, I have breakfast, get dressed, have breakfast, and then yeah, probably then I might pick up a book. I might pick up a book or do an audiobook, or I might like watch one episode of Gimble or something like that, as I've done lately. But yeah, I think it's kind of like the fourth or fifth thing on my to daily list, so it's not that far. It's like kind of like I would say like in the middle there, really. It's something I do pretty quick. Like I have a nightstand. That's what most people do. That's also pointing that there. That's not over there. It's over there. So yeah, so I have books close to me, and yeah, sometimes I first thing I do actually when I wake up is like pick it back up a book. Like if I went to bed, if I went to sleep the day before, like, and I had to go to sleep because I was so tired, but I love the book. Then the first thing I'm gonna do when I wake up is pick back up the book and just read there for some hours. Actually, when I studied, and actually sometimes do that now and then, now still not that much now, but yeah, sometimes when I studied, I like in the weekends I would wake up, I would read a book, and then just lay in my bed reading all day, and all day like reading. Maybe I'll wake up at like 9, 8. I'll pick up the book by my nightstand, read until like 1 in the afternoon. Maybe I'll take some breakfast then. Yeah, I won't really even have breakfast. I do bathroom breaks, but no food breaks. That's how committed I was. And then I might have lunch. I might do a small walk, maybe not, and then I might read again. So like, yeah, sometimes I did like very focused or very focused book reading days where I just read. And yeah, as I said, I still do that sometimes. So now it's more like I might read a bit in my bed, and I'll move and reading in the living room, and I'll take a walk, listen to audiobook. But yeah, on my daily routine, yeah, it's pretty focused, it's pretty in center really, I would say. Sorry. Good, good. Okay, so next question: how many books do you own in total? Well, probably should have. Well, might have like checked and counted. I did. I did a bookshelf tour early this year, but I don't think I ever counted them. Not sure. Like I suppose you can like count them and stuff. I would say though roughly, and also like these aren't all my books. Some of them are in other places. But yeah, I would say roughly. Hmm. Maybe 500. Because I mean most of these shelves are double stacked, and like one shelf has place for like 50 books, not 50 books, 20 books, maybe 20 books, yeah. So maybe more 400. It's at least in hundreds. It's three numbers. Sorry, three digits. I knew know that. But yeah, and also like if you count audiobooks, then I have a bit more idea. I think that's more like think I actually think that's actually also, yeah, more around 200, 100, 200, 100. I think that's actually around that number really. So yeah, that might be true. So yeah, all in all, quite a lot. I probably might count them in the future because nice to know. But at the moment, it's around that 200 audiobooks and 200 physical books. 300 physical books. I think it's probably more around 300 than 200. It's around that. How often do you bring up books in conversation? Okay, so I was about to say stuff, but I remembered I need to. Okay, I am ready. So now I feel like it's time for a little story time. So as I said before, although probably not in this video, but you kind of know from the title of it, I'm a book addict. I love books. Obviously, I suppose maybe it's not obvious, but yeah, at least I think it is. Anyway, all these books. But yeah, I've been reading all my life to an extent or another. And yeah, in when I first started to read, I like my family has are all blah, blah, blah. My family are all readers. I'm the biggest one, I suppose, in a way. But we're all like, if Christmas comes around, and probably everyone will get a book for Christmas. Like if it's a biography or if it's a non-fiction or fiction, like we all have some books that came out that year, or like that was popular that year that we want to read. And yeah, my family, they might read just around Christmas and just around holidays. I'll read all year round, but we all have some sort of attachment to books. That's kind of always been there, I suppose, in that way. And when I was in primary school, or as some people say, grade school, I've always used primary, but grade school, I suppose, also. Uh, my friends also love to read. So like when I learned to read, I had like this whole community thing around me where like my friends and we would read a lot of the Nancy Drew books. We would borrow each other's Nancy Drew books, and we would try to read all the books. It's a long series. I never got through them all, but I read a lot of them. Always trying to find new books in that series. I read some Hardy books. I don't really think I read that many, but I read some of them. I also remember loving, like, there was this Harry Potter craze. I suppose it's like they still, but like there was like in the early days, it was just like we were talking about like when's next book coming out, and oh, book three, this gonna happen, and that's the title, and we were just talking about it in recess and stuff. So there's a lot of talk about that, and yeah, also like me and my friends, we read Norwegian children's stories. We read Narnia. Yeah, we read a lot of books. We sorry. There was a lot of also like there was a lot of focus on books in school. Like the teacher would read aloud to us like in class, or they would read aloud to us in recess. We would read a book and then we would see the movie. I remember we read Matilda in school and then we saw the movie. So yeah, there was like a whole really focus around that in private school. It wasn't that much like in high school and like middle school, but like in grade school, it's like very focused on that, like more or less everywhere. But then, as happens in middle school, I kind of grew apart from friends, and it was a time where I was just kind of out in the world, not really with any friends. I was kind of alone, isolated. I wasn't Veronica Mars exactly. Like I didn't have that best friend, but like I felt very related to her because I kind of felt in a way like the whole world was against me. I was like I ended up being like excluded for stuff, and I was a bit bullied and like directly and indirectly. So yeah, so I would say like so like in primary school I would easily talk about like books all the time because it was so much around me. It was like so natural. But then like in middle school I was like I would bring a school to book. I would bring a book to school and like read in recess because people didn't want to talk to me or people didn't want to you didn't really play in recess in middle school. So I would bring a book to read and just pass the time. And then I just sit there, maybe just at my own desk, just sitting there and trying to be small and read a book. People would go watching me and they're like, "What are you doing? You reading? Are you reading? Oh, you're such a nerd. You read." So yeah, I suppose like after that, I don't really haven't talked that much. Like I haven't really brought that much books about in conversations. Like except like if I'm in a library or if someone else says like, "Have you read something new?" I'll talk about books, obviously. But if they ask you what's been going on lately, I won't say, "Oh, I've been reading this amazing book," and then blah blah blah, because they'll often just kind of glaze over and like, "Oh, books," or maybe they don't haven't heard of the book at all and have to explain a lot. And yeah, I don't know. So like, if you don't ask me specifically, have you read anything good lately? I won't really talk that much about books except on my channel. So yeah, I suppose not that much really. Sadly, is the truth. Next question. Longest book you read? Well, the book and tea video. But yeah, longest book I read. Well, I read quite a few. I read the first 3 or 4 Outlander books, and I think the first ones are like 500, and the later ones are like 700, 800. I also read. The Dark Artificers. I think the last one in that is kind of like 900 pages, 800 pages. So I would say like one of those. I'm not quite sure which of those is one of which one of those is the longest, but yeah, Outlander books or the Cast and Clear books, they're long, pretty long, I would say. So yeah, one of those. Is there a book you had to get at all costs? Hmm, interesting. Well, there are books that kind of like feel like sound interesting, and then I forget about them, and then I hear about them later, and then like anticipated books from 2017 I still haven't get to that kind of want to still get to. But like that I have to get at all costs. I don't know. Like, do you mean like a specific book? Like because like if I want to get a book at all costs, I'll like yeah because this is like it's a book you got at all costs. Like you sure it's the question is like did you search obscure eBay places and did you search for everywhere and etc etc. I don't really think there's a book like that really. I have. I can't really say. I I found some books recently on Better Old Books that I haven't found other places. That's really cool. But like sorry, in general, I don't know. Kind of just find them. I often the books that I really like are kind of accessible places, so there hasn't really been a need for me to like hunt down a book. I would say. Well, slightly in one way, I found a book years ago in a flea market that I bought myself, and now I can't find it. I kind of want to find the same copy, but I think I'm probably gonna have to give up on that one because I've moved so many places. It might have been lost someplace, and I haven't really found it in some time. So kind of thinking it might be lost someplace. So yeah, except that I don't really know. Don't really have an answer for you. Can't really say I have. No. Um. Next question. A book you struggle to finish because you refuse to DNF. Well, I have refused to DNF. So yeah, that's not really. If I don't like a book, I'll DNF it. Uh, there's some times when I read a book and the book started very good and then it goes like started there so good and then it goes down. And then I'm thinking like, well, it started so good, so it has to get better again. And then I just keep reading, thinking it'll get better, and then it just gets worse. But in that way, I might like give books too many chances, like instead of DNFing it. But struggled and struggled. Like if I at least in my head struggle, I think like that word I sort of associate with like it's really hard, a big struggle. And if something's a big struggle, I'll DNF it. I won't force myself to read a book that I have to struggle to force myself to read. I won't do that. So yeah, that's that really. Yeah, so I don't really have an answer for you except that. Morty. Okay. Next question. Three of your book goals for 2021. Like, if you have any. I would say that my goal is to kind of like in a way to keep doing what I've done this year to read more queer or LGBTQIA plus books. I also want to be more focused on black authors. I read more this year than I had before, I would say. Like I read a lot of books by some authors. Like I read two books by Sally Hibbert. I read like four books by Elsa Cole, etc., etc. I've read lots of books by two books by Jasmine Guillory. But I did a video in like I think maybe July where I said that I wanted to for the rest of the year read two black authors, well two books by black authors for the rest of the year, like every month. That I don't think that happened. I checked. Yeah, it didn't happen. So it's kind of embarrassing. So yeah, I definitely want to do that. Like go to focus more on reading back offers next year. Like not just like being like, okay, you look cool. I want to read you, but like really not just finding books, but starting them and actually reading them. So yeah, that's and then kind of also want to read native like books, so books with indigenous people like Aztecs and Mesopotamia and all those stuff. I know sorry, I know Rebecca Rowanhorse writes with indigenous stories and stuff like that. So yeah, I want to try her out. So yeah, I would say that's at least 3 goals. I might have more in the future, but at the moment, that's those 3 really that I can think of. Sorry. Next question. Have you ever converted anyone to a reader? I'm not quite sure really. So I've had some time. You know, so I had like some places where like, okay, so as I said before, though, again, this might be your first video for me. So hi, I'm Renee. I'm educated, a librarian, though I don't work as one. That's my education. And actually, you might be surprised, but there actually were a few people in the study who said like, yeah, they read now and then, but they weren't very much into reading. They were like more like, I have to study something, and I might get a job as a librarian. Try that one. I suppose I think a lot. I think some of them like did the study because what people don't know, but what is actually true is that if you do education in librarian or librarian archives, which is kind of often the same thing really, it often involves each other. So often, yeah, it's often the same aspects and stuff, same systems and stuff. But yeah, if you take a bachelor in that, you can actually get a job in like television because televisions they also need to systemize their archives and stuff. You can have a job in oil actually. Oil also needs librarians. You can have a job at museums. You can have a job in um, you can have a job in like publishing. Though I suppose if you don't like books that much, it wouldn't really be obvious. You can have a book. You can have a job in you can have, yeah, there's lots of places like that need archives and archivists, and that's often what librarians also know. So in that way, yeah, it's kind of in that way, yeah. And yeah, in my study, while I did librarian information and library information and literature science. Sometimes you had to like do group works, and then you like talked about the book or like something like that in front of the whole class or like in front of a group. And as was that way you talked about like books you enjoyed. I I can't say I know for sure if anyone that saw for like, oh, that book looks cool. Though might have been, though I don't know for sure. So I might convert someone then like to check out books. I also did like a lecture in a way on books and why reading is just so amazing and why there's a book for everyone. I did a small lecture on that when I was like 19 for like the school I went to then, and that was like a school for like people from everywhere. It wasn't just like people who love to read, and that was like the lecture was for people all over the school. So I know people, the teachers really love that lecture. If I love the people, if any of the students were convinced, I'm not sure. They might have. I feel like I kind of did a show of it, so hopefully. But yeah, kind of like there's been times when like I've done like ta-da with like books, but in a way like also like this channel, like people might watch booktube and like, you know what, they seem so happy about books, I want to read. But yeah, so like there's times when that has happened, but I haven't really gotten any confirmation about like people saying like, oh yeah, I got into reading because of your booktube channel, or I got into reading because of what you said then. And yeah, also like, well, also, I do work in a bookstore, and people have actually come into a bookstore and said, like, I haven't read much, but I want to read. Do you have any tips? And then I give them tips, but they haven't really gotten back. Like, they haven't came back and like bought more. So I don't know if that's because they didn't like the book, or if it's maybe they come back on a different day. I don't know. So there's been times when I might have gone over to people, but I haven't no confirmation. So maybe, maybe not. I don't know. And then next and last one is next. Yep, last one is describe words in describe words in 5 words. Oh, it's been a long day. No, describe books or your love for books in 5 words. So I'm not sure if this is supposed to like be a 5 word sentence or like if you can just kind of use 5 words. I decided to go for 5 words and it'll work. I think it will work. Okay, so the words I chose is wonder, escape, relate, comfort, and community. Because like the wonder of getting opening a new book and going into that story, and then also the escape if you're having a bad day, the comfort of a book that's predictable but so nice, or tropey that you enjoy, or comfort of a reread of a favorite, and the community of like knowing that the book you read, all the people have read, and you can talk about it, and it's a book that a lot of people have loved. It starts conversations, and yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's the book addict side. Oh yeah, I think also, not sure where it is. I think maybe it's the last question. Didn't write it down. Don't think I did. No, but I think actually this actually is supposed to be somewhere where it's supposed to like ask yourself, do you consider yourself a book addict? And yeah, I would say I do. I really, really do. As I said, I have a lot of books. I have the story. I have a audiobook app. I did education in with the book theme, like library. I work in a bookstore. Yeah, like I can't see myself going for a long time without thinking about books in some way or another. And like even like there was actually like, okay, so story time again. Fun story time, is it? At least I think so. Um, there's like so okay, so in Norway we read a lot, even though we're just familiar. A lot of us read. We're like libraries are a big thing, and there's a lot of bookstores everywhere. And yeah, I think like we read a lot, like in comparison to how many people are inhabitants in Norway. Though sadly, well, kind of sadly, a lot of people in Norway they read crime. Reading fantasy is not that, it's still kind of shaded on. It's not that well. It's not that well knowledge. It's not that common in a way. But yeah, but because crime is so popular in Norway, there's actually a crime festival every year in Oslo, in the capital, where they have they have offers from the UK, from the sometimes I think actually also from the US, offers from Norway, offers from Sweden, interviews, and they do book signings, they do book quizzes, all that stuff. And yeah, as I said, I like crime, but I like more the old style crime, not so much really the modern crime. And that crime festival often sort of like focus on newer books. But yeah, so I actually went to this crime festival, I think like maybe 3 years ago. Yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah. And most of the festival was free. You didn't really have to buy and tickets to stuff, so that was a perk. And yeah, so I went to like at first it was like a skit or like a theater where they like have like parodies of crime. It was very fun. And then after that they had a um sorry, they had a book interview with two offers, one offers. I think there was two. Maybe I'm blanking out here. It was one or two. Anyway, none of the offers I heard about before, but still, it was like I I enjoyed it. It was interesting to hear like how the author wrote, how the author got their ideas and talking and stuff. So I really enjoyed it, even though crime is not my big to do. I said like, if anything, like anything, more or less anything surrounded or to do about books, I'm into it. I'm there for it. So there for it. So yeah, that as a good reason that I'll say I'm definitely a book addict. And yeah, I'll Yeah, tagging people. Don't know who to tag really. I'll tag people in the doobly. And also, if you see this, want to do it, tag. I tag you. And yeah, bye bye.